Hello everyone, my name is Cade Chamberlain and welcome to the show Midlife Crisis, which is the show where I talk about every single DC crossover event. This week we're going to be talking about Amazon's Attack, which is a Wonder Woman crossover event that came out in 2006, written by Will Pfeiffer, with art by Pete Woods. And I'm excited to look at it and talk about it because many consider it to be one of the worst DC events of all time. And that only gets me excited because I love to read books that are considered to be bad just so that I know why. So I can learn about it, figure it out, because there's always a reason. Is it the characters? Is it the story? Is it everything? Is it just the art? Now, if you've never heard of Amazon's Attack before, I will give you a bit of a rundown on the events that led up to this because I actually had to read some of Wonder Woman so that I could understand everything that's happened leading up to this event. So it all began in Infinite Crisis when Wonder Woman killed Maxwell Lord, and the population of America and the government did not like this, and Wonder Woman didn't like doing it either and felt like she wasn't worthy of being Wonder Woman anymore, so she gave up the title and handed it over to Donna Troy, who used to be Wonder Girl. So Donna Troy becomes the new Wonder Woman. Meanwhile, Batman uses his money to find a job for Diana. He creates a new secret identity for her, which is Diana Prince, the agent of the Department of Metahuman Affairs. So now her job is to find and detain metahumans, like evil metahumans, and hopefully try and cure them or just keep them detained. As Wonder Woman, Donna Troy comes into conflict with pretty much every Wonder Woman villain. They've all come together to attack her, and they're all led by Circe. And so Diana has to try and help Donna, so she becomes Wonder Woman again and helps Donna Troy fight these Wonder Woman villains. However, Circe, using her magic, manages to steal Wonder Woman's powers, Diana Prince's powers, and so she just becomes a regular human. And she doesn't just steal her powers; she steals Donna Troy's as well, and Cassie Sandsmark, who is currently Wonder Girl. So the three of them have to team up and take down Circe without the use of their powers, but they still have access to the lasso of truth and stuff, so they're still able to fight her. Circe uses Wonder Woman's powers to become her own version of Wonder Woman, and she is she's like a vengeful force for women. It's such a great idea. Circe essentially goes around to find sex workers and stuff that are being abused or women that are being raped. She kills the men that are responsible and saves the women. It's such a great idea to have Circe be this bloodthirsty, vengeance-seeking Wonder Woman who only kills men and just not just particular men, but pretty much any man that she comes across. It just makes sense for the character to be like that. So that's just another reason for Diana and Donna to work together to try and stop her. Eventually, they do fight all of these villains, including Circe, and Circe manages to get away. They do stop her, they thwart her plan, but she does manage to get away so that she can continue scheming. And before she leaves, she uses her magic on Diana again to give her back her powers, but not in a way that Diana is expecting. Because Diana was expecting to just become, immortal, or not immortal, but invulnerable and stuff forever, all the time, 24 hours a day. But it turns out now Circe has given her the ability to turn into Wonder Woman. But when she's not Wonder Woman, she's just a regular human. So in her daily life, she's just Diana Prince, completely human, can get hurt and killed. But if she transforms into Wonder Woman, she has all the powers of Wonder Woman. So Diana starts living a double life. The problem with that is that working for the Department of Metahuman Affairs, she has teamed up with this guy named Nemesis, who has become her partner. He's not a bad guy. He actually likes Wonder Woman. And he also likes Diana. They have a bit of a thing going on. But she also works with this guy named Sergeant Steele, who is her leader. And Sergeant Steele does not like Wonder Woman and wants to detain her because she still hasn't served justice for killing Maxwell Lord. And he wants to find out why she got away with that. So he tasks Diana with tracking down and bringing in Wonder Woman, which Diana obviously doesn't want to do because she is Wonder Woman. So it's this really fun idea of Diana having to find and capture herself because nobody knows that she's Wonder Woman. Eventually, Diana does actually get captured while she's Wonder Woman by Sergeant Steele and detained in a cell where Nemesis, disguised as Sergeant Steele, breaks into the facility, finds Wonder Woman held captive, and frees her, saying that he's on her side and not Steele's. And it turns out that Sergeant Steele is working alongside Cersei, and Cersei has been building up this she's been pulling the strings of this, plan to attack the US. So what she does is she resurrects Hippolyta, Diana Prince's mother and the queen of the Themyscirans. And using her magic, she manipulates Hippolyta into being a more evil version. And Hippolyta knows that the Americans have kidnapped her daughter, so she sees them as the enemy. She's like, if they see my daughter as the enemy, then they see us as enemies. And so we'll give them what they want, which is clearly a war. And so Hippolyta decides to invade America with her forces of Themyscirans, clearly not in the right headspace, being manipulated by Cersei, while Cersei just watches from the background, just happy to see that the Themyscirans are attacking man's world, because that's what she wants. And so Wonder Woman and Nemesis break out of the facility by going through the sewers, and when they emerge from the sewers, they find the city entirely ravaged by Themyscirans. And they head to, the remains of some, it's like a Greek temple or something. And Diana finds her mother, Hippolyta, there, which is shocking to her because she's supposed to be dead. And that's where we leave off. That leads directly into the Amazon's attack event. So that's everything that happened before this. So now that we've gone over all of the things that led up to this event, let's get straight into it. If you're enjoying this video so far and you like the videos that I've been uploading to this channel, I upload one every Sunday, then please think about subscribing and liking the video. Let's get straight into Amazon's Attack Issue 1. Alright, the story begins at the Lincoln Memorial, where a father is introducing his son to the memorial and the statue of Abraham Lincoln when an explosion happens. So the dad is just like, whoa, what the hell was that? And his son and he see the entire Themysciran army just sitting outside the embassy. And then one of the Themyscirians just walks up to the dad and slits his throat and then kills the kid as well. So already we're starting off incredibly grim and dark, and these Amazonians, these Themyscirans, are already completely out of character with how they've normally been depicted. They're obviously manipulated by Cersei, but still, nobody wants to see them acting like this. So they just start attacking innocent people. Somebody who's probably a little bit less innocent they attack is the president. A couple of Amazons attack him and kill his security guards, but then Black Lightning shows up and takes them out to save the president. Meanwhile, Hippolyta meets up with Cersei. They have a little bit of conversation about what's going on and that Hippolyta needs to work with Cersei in order to save her daughter. But Hippolyta then talks to her people, and she seems to care more about attacking man and just hurting people than saving her daughter. It doesn't even seem like she cares about saving her daughter at all. And it's, again, because she's being manipulated by Cersei. So Hippolyta gets her huge army out and starts giving a speech to them, and then they start attacking the White House. Meanwhile, Cersei talks to a guard who mentions Cersei has a daughter, and Cersei just kills them and is like, don't ever mention my daughter ever again. So they blow up the White House, and then Hippolyta walks over to the Lincoln Memorial and cuts the head off the statue of Lincoln and is like, let this be our statement. Let this signify our resolve. Let the armies speeding toward us know by this gesture that we will not surrender. Now launch the catapults and blow this place to hell. And so they launch all the catapults. A bunch of army jets come in to try and secure the area. And meanwhile, Batman talks to Sergeant Steele, and Sergeant Steele is basically just like, we need help from all of your friends, including the big guy. He's obviously referring to Superman. And then Batman is like, and you should probably get in contact with the other big guy that starts with WW, or like Big Woman. So obviously they're referring to Wonder Woman. So Sergeant Steele heads off to his room, where he opens up a secret door, and it's revealed that this Sergeant Steele isn't the real one, and that the real one is tied up. He's like, after all, you're the one who's going to get all the credit, because you know all of this. What's going on outside? It's getting crazier by the minute. And then we see Wonder Woman meeting with Hippolyta to have a little mother-daughter heart-to-heart. Wonder Woman issue 9, written by Jodi Picoult, with art by Terry Dodson and Rachel Dodson, ties into Amazon Attacks, and within that tie-in, Hippolyta is shown to have gone to Athena asking for help in the war, but Athena is like, nah, we're not going to help you. And so Hippolyta has to tell her fellow Themyscirans that the gods aren't going to help them, but that they don't need their help. And then she fires a bunch of catapults at the Washington Monument, completely destroying it, causing it to fall over on top of a bunch of buildings. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman saves a cat, and then heads off with Nemesis to the Washington Monument, where Superman has put it back on. I don't know how I guess they got some cement or something and fixed it. But yeah, she meets with Superman, Batman, and Black Canary, and they start talking about how, like, Hippolyta is attacking, and Diana just can't come to terms with the fact that it is her mom, and she believes that it's a copy of her, and so she decides that she's going to head off with Nemesis to go and talk to her mom about what's going on. There's also some weird dialogue exchange between Black Canary and Nemesis. They have like a bit of flirting, where he's just like, will you quit focusing on my butt? I know it's sexy, but we've only just met. It's like, get out of here, Nemesis. We gotta go see my mom. The framing of this story is weird, because earlier on, Wonder Woman and Nemesis saw her mom, and then I guess she just didn't go up and talk to her, even though there was a panel of her walking up to her mom and being like, hey, mom. Like, I guess that didn't happen, and this is the first time that they're actually meeting. Either that, or they had a meeting off panel, and now they're meeting for the second time. I don't know. She goes and visits Hippolyta, and it's clearly a different place than the last time they met, which it's no longer in the ruins of a Greek temple or something. It's now in a airplane hangar. Hippolyta confirms to her daughter that she is the real Hippolyta, and that she is going to team up with her Cersei, and that Cersei knows best, and that their goal is to take down Man and get revenge against them for treating Themyscira terribly. And she tells Diana that she's disappointed in her for not following her roots and instead becoming a savior of Man when she should be Man's enemy. And that's when Nemesis shows up to confront Sergeant Steele, who is not the real one, and he knows that for a fact. And Hippolyta's forces attack them, shooting an explosion at them, and when the smoke clears away, there are now two Sergeant Steeles, and Nemesis is clearly disguising himself as one of them, and so they convince the authorities to take them both in, so they can try and figure out which one is the real Sergeant Steele. And we as the reader know that neither of them are the real Sergeant Steele. This is just a ploy from Nemesis. Diana finds Cersei and decides to confront her. Meanwhile, the two Sergeant Steeles try to argue for which one is real, and Nemesis convinces everyone that he is the real Sergeant Steele by stabbing a pen in the other Steele's hand to prove that he's not the real one, because if he was, it wouldn't hurt because he's got a robot hand, so he wouldn't be able to feel pain. So they take that fake Sergeant Steele away for questioning. Diana and Cersei fight each other and have some of the worst dialogue exchanges of all time. You make it sound so easy to possess people, darling. If it were, don't you think I'd just possess you and spare myself the trouble of talking sense into you? What about Sarge? He's part of the scheme too, and he would never do your bidding unless he was being controlled. You are absolutely right, and absolutely wrong at the same time. Very human, darling. Sarge isn't Sarge, but I'm not possessing him either. Sarge is an imposter, disguised as Sarge? Oh, darling, I'm an imposter disguised as evil. You're an imposter disguised as a hero. The gods are imposters, and the Amazons are imposters, and the humans are imposters. The adorable Nemesis is an imposter of everything. Nothing is ever real. Except love and murder. Bingo. It's like, what is this dialogue? Nemesis, disguised as Steel, confronts the fake Steel. Turns out this guy is Everyman, who can transform himself. He's also a cannibal, not in this, but in a previous comic he was a cannibal. And the Everyman is like, yeah, like, you've already lost. Like, the game is much bigger than you realize, and then he disappears. Nemesis Steel runs through the building to the control room because Everyman said that something was going on in the control room and that he should check it. And when he gets there, he sees that there is a nuclear missile that is aimed at Themyscira. Diana and Cersei continue having their fight, where Cersei tries to turn the tides on Diana, saying that maybe the problem isn't that her mother has changed, maybe it's the problem that she's changed. She explains to Diana that she originally planned for her to die in this war, but now she has other plans after she's seen the potential that her and Diana have as a team. And then she has some really awful dialogue explaining her idea to Diana. I'm thinking that when this whole thing is over, we can go into crime fighting together. Travel the globe, saving women from oppression. What a team we'd be. I can be the funny, sassy, sexy one, and you can be the dorky, square one who says dorky, square things like, Great Hera. I barely say that anymore. It's like, what is this? How can I treat this seriously? And then another scene happens in this that just straight up makes it look like a cartoon, where it's like, how can you take this seriously? When Nemesis is driving in a car chase, he's being chased by Themyscirans who are flying on Pegasus. They rip the top of his car off, and he drives under a bridge, and the two Pegasus fly into the bridge, like a cartoon. Like, either killing them or knocking them out. It's ridiculous. And then he somehow finds where Diana and Cersei are fighting. I don't know how. Maybe they're just being really loud and he heard them. But he knows exactly what building they're fighting on, so he runs all the way to the top of it, where he comes to see, Diana coming to blows with Cersei. And they discover that the reason why they're shooting a nuclear missile at Themyscira is because Cersei plans on opening the portal to Themyscira just as the nuclear missile gets there, therefore blowing up the portal and stopping anyone from being able to go to Themyscira, which would obviously cut off the Themyscirians, it would trap them on land, and they would be at the mercy of man. And that's when a spear gets sent flying through Cersei's chest because she's obviously betraying Hippolyta. So Hippolyta shows up. It's like, Witch, you betrayed us! Now you would die for it. It's like, Diana dear, your mother is no longer the person you look up to. Usurp her throne. You can call off the war. Don't listen to her, daughter, or you will be the next to fall. Usurp her throne? To do that, I would have to kill my mother. Oh, darling, you know it sucks when I'm right. So it's like this weird situation of, like, now Diana and Cersei are on the same side all of a sudden? Like, what is even going on? Why is Cersei suddenly betraying Hippolyta? Like, this just came out of nowhere. So apparently Lex Luthor has his own news report, and so he starts reporting on the war, and a bunch of jets get attacked by the Themyscirans. One in particular has a woman in it, whose name is Ames, and an arrow just goes straight through her neck. She ejects out of the plane, and a couple of Themyscirans see her parachute as she's landing, and they just walk over to her and stab her with a spear, killing her. And then they're just like, oh, can you hear that noise? It's like high-pitched. It turns out Black Canary shows up and knocks them all out with her canary scream. And she's not alone. She's alongside Superman, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Batman, Red Arrow, Red Tornado, and Black Lightning. Red Arrow wants to take part in the war and fight, but Batman's like, no, we shouldn't focus on fighting. We need to focus on helping people. And there's a weird moment in this where Superman and Batman question Wonder Woman's allegiance. They're kind of like, oh, which side is she going to be on? It's like, bro, you know what side she's going to be on. You've known her for years. She's obviously going to side with the humans because she realizes that her mother and her people are in the wrong in this situation. Like, why are you even questioning her loyalty? Batman calls up Nemesis and is like, hey, Nemesis, just checking in. I'm glad the war hasn't gotten further than this small area. And Nemesis is like, well then, Batman, I got some very bad news for you, because it turns out that the Amazons have also been attacking the West. And not just the embassy. While the other heroes go off to help people, Batman and Superman decide to stay in the city because they want to talk to Wonder Woman and question her about whose side she's on. Meanwhile, Donna Troy heads off and talks to Hippolyta. And this is where events get a little bit confusing, because at this point in time, Hippolyta has already gone and spoken to Wonder Woman, but then she asks Donna Troy to go and get Wonder Woman for her. It's like, why didn't you get her yourself? She was right there. You were throwing spears at her. How did she get away? You cornered her. I guess she got away, and now you're sending somebody else to do it yourself. She also says that she killed Cersei as well, but I don't think Cersei's dead, because she teleported away. And then it turns out there's some inner conflict within the Themyscirans, because some of the Themyscirans, like Artemis, don't agree with what Hippolyta is doing. At first, they're like, oh, like, some rogue Themyscirans went and attacked the West, which is a bad thing. And then Hippolyta is like, oh, that was actually me that made that decision. And Artemis is like, what are you doing? Like, what you were doing is going against our ways. We don't attack senselessly like this. You know, we agreed that we were only going to attack the White House, and that was it. Like, we did not agree that you would be attacking all these other places and killing all these innocent people. But Hippolyta is like, I am queen, and you must listen to my directions. Now go back into the battle and continue killing people, please. And so they begrudgingly listen to her. Wonder Woman shows up and talks to Batman. Batman is just like, hey, well, whose side are you on? And Wonder Woman is like, why are you asking me that? Of course I'm on your side. And that's when Superman suddenly senses that his Ma and Pa are in danger, and he flies off, and it turns out that Kansas has been blown to smithereens again. This happened during Our Worlds at War, and then Kansas has already been lost again, what, like 4 years later? So that's really unlucky for Superman. The writers are doing a pretty good job of making you hate the Amazons, which is not what I want. You know, I don't want the Amazons to be pictured this way, especially Hippolyta. The fact that she's just completely ravaged Kansas. Like, that's messed up. Like, why are you killing friendly old people? Like, obviously the Kents aren't dead, but I'm sure there are other old people that live in Kansas as well, like their friends and stuff. Messed up. So we do get to see how Wonder Woman and Nemesis escaped from Hippolyta and her people. When the spears were thrown at them, Wonder Woman just grabbed them all, or like punched them, broke them and stuff, and then threw them back, which stabbed them into the Themyscirans. And then she's like, Mother, we need to talk. And then her mum's like, nah, we don't need to talk. I'm gonna use the weapon that Cersei gave me to kill as many people as I possibly can. It's like, you started this war. It can end only when I seize the throne from you. Don't speak so to me. And she just smacks Wonder Woman and then leaves. Like, Hippolyta just goes away on a Pegasus, and Nemesis somehow falls off. I guess the rock just suddenly crumbles under his feet and he falls. Wonder Woman saves his life. It's like, you must really love me right now. Yeah, I do. Wonder Woman tells Nemesis that they need to find her mother and stop her from using the weapon. She also shows that she knows who Frank Miller is when she gets Frank Miller mixed up with Arthur Miller. They go and meet with Black Canary and Batman, and that's when Hippolyta shows up again. Like, she left a second ago, and then she comes back and is like, attack! And so they start fighting her again. It's so weird. It's like, why did she even leave? It's like she left went on a quick loop around the block, and then came right back. So they all start fighting Hippolyta and her people, and then Nemesis does the stupidest thing ever. Like, this is so funny. This is something that you would see Wolverine and, like, Wonder Woman and Nemesis do a fastball special. Where Nemesis is like, hey, throw me at Hippolyta. And so Wonder Woman just throws him at her, and he smacks into her. He's like, hi, Mom. She's like, great, Hera. And then he grabs the key from her, which is supposed to activate the weapon, and they smash into a nearby window. And then, somehow, Nemesis has enough time to transform into Hippolyta so that he can trick one of Hippolyta's guards into thinking that he's her. So they hand the treasure straight to him, like the weapon, and he opens it up, and Diana is like, no, Nemesis, don't open it up yet. And he opens it up, big blue light shines out of it, and then a bunch of alien eggs show up. Like, literally the eggs from Alien show up, but they are not xenomorphs. In fact, they are giant killer bees inside. And then the bees all attack Nemesis. He, like, distracts them with a purple cloth. They all attack him and start stabbing him with their stingers. And then after they've attacked him, that's when Superman and Green Lantern decide to step in and stop them. Not before they attack Nemesis and almost kill him. Afterward. It makes no sense. And then Nemesis has this really sad moment that isn't very sad because, like, unless you've read all of his comics, where he's just like, oh, I'm so sorry about what happened. Like, you know, I loved you this entire time, and now I'm just gonna freaking die. And she's like, no, you did this. And she gets really mad at Hippolyta, because she thinks he's dead. He's not actually dead. Superman confirms that he's not dead because he could feel he could hear his pulse faintly. So Wonder Woman decides to face Hippolyta in battle and just straight up punches her mum. It's like, hey, you want me to show you who I am? This is who I am. Punches her across the city. Batman decides to treat Nemesis, but gets attacked by a Themysciran warrior, and then somehow Batman is able to fight and beat an Amazon. I don't know how that makes any sense, but this is just an example of Batman being, like, just OP, because, like, he's a normal dude, and he is fighting a, like, woman who is supposed to have, like, pretty much superhuman abilities. Like, the peak of a person. Like, there's no way that Batman should be able to beat an Amazon. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's just to make him look super cool, I guess. Diana keeps fighting her mom and punches her in the face, which causes Hippolyta to drop her dagger. She then grabs the dagger and puts it up to her mom's throat and is like, hey, with one flinch of my hand, I could end your life and take your place as Queen of the Amazons. This war would at last be over. But it's not that easy, is it? Once before, I took a single life to save millions. I convinced myself it was the right thing to do, but even one life is too many. After all, long before I became Wonder Woman, I was your daughter. Not long ago, you asked me if I would die for these humans. You once sent me to protect, and I tell you now that I would. But this is no longer what you should be asking. The question isn't what I'd be willing to lose. The question is, Mother, would you kill me to win? And then she puts the knife up to her throat. And puts the knife, she puts the knife in Hippolyta's hand and puts it up to her throat. Is basically egging her mum on to kill her. She's like, come on, do it. You know, it'll end the war. Superman heads to Kansas, where he uses his super breath to put out all the fires. He couldn't save the crops, but he did save the people there. As far as we know, there were no casualties. Gets a kiss on his cheek from Ma Kent, and then he decides to head off to continue helping in the war. Meanwhile, Hippolyta gives a speech to the public on film, where she tells America to surrender. And that's it. That's all she wants. She wants America to surrender, or she will keep killing people. Which is obviously not how Hippolyta normally acts. And that causes Artemis and one of her friends to conspire against Hippolyta, saying that what she's doing is wrong. Like, there's a panel in this where Hippolyta just, like, after giving her speech, kills the cameraman. It's like, what is going on? Like, why are you having this character act this way? Especially when it's, it's pretty much stated that she is not being controlled by Cersei. She is making all these decisions herself. Cersei herself said that she is not mind-controlling Hippolyta. So we suddenly just turned Hippolyta into an evil like just an evil dictator, essentially. Then the president takes things a step further and says that he decides to enact a new law, which is that they will arrest any Themyscirian or any Amazon, regardless of whether or not they are dangerous. So they just start going around finding just innocent civilians who just happen to be Themyscirian and arresting them and detaining them, and they're gonna create like camps and stuff to keep them in. Like, things are going too far, and the president even he refers to himself as if he's kind of like he is Superman. Like, he compares himself to Superman. He's like, they need to know that someone strong and capable is looking out for them. And then Superman flies past his plane, and he's like, besides Superman. It's like, bro, why are you comparing yourself to Superman? You are not like Superman. Superman would not do shit like this. Meanwhile, at a Korean War Veterans Memorial, Batman is attacked by a couple of Themyscirians, which he puts out with some sleeping darts. One of them attacks him and gets hit by a dumpster thrown by Superman. Superman says that he wasn't trying to kill her, but if we were being realistic, he probably would have. It seemed like he threw that dumpster at her full force. Maybe just her being Amazonian allowed her to survive, which just... it feeds more into the argument of, how did Batman beat a Amazonian if it took a dumpster thrown by Superman to knock one out? I do think this panel of Superman casually carrying the dumpster away while talking to Batman about the war is kind of funny. Batman sees the new law that the president has enacted and is like, oh crap, this isn't good. It's like, no, of course it isn't. But at the same time, the killer bees have just attacked, and so he's also like, wow, we got these Amazonians being arrested for no reason, like these innocent ones as well as the non-innocent ones, and we got these killer bees, like, this is the worst day ever. Also, there's giant turtle-looking things attacking the city. I don't know what they are. They don't say what they are, but I can just see it in one of the panels. And then Supergirl and Wonder Girl go and meet with Hippolyta, because Hippolyta is like, I told Donna Troy to go and find Diana for me, and then she just freaking disappeared. And that's because Countdown, the event, is going on at the same time as this, and Donna Troy plays a big role in that event, so she got taken away to go on an adventure. So it's just so fucking funny that, like, she got told to go and do this thing, and then has to go and be in another event, and Hippolyta's just like, dang it, like, I needed her to help me, and now she's just gone. And so instead she gets the help of Supergirl and Wonder Girl, and I swear that this was not planned by the writers, and that they just threw them in and created this whole plot line on the spot of Wonder Girl and Supergirl helping Hippolyta. Wonder Woman mentions that there is an antidote that can help Nemesis, but she's like, there's not enough time to help him though. I need to go and stop my mother, otherwise more people will die, and I'd rather stop more people dying than one person dying. So screw Nemesis, I'm just gonna go help these other people. You can figure it out, Batman. And then Oracle calls Batman up and says that a bomb has been set off at a nuclear reactor, which is not good, and it was in Star City. So Oliver Queen goes searching the site to see if he can find anything. And while he's doing that, Artemis says that there is apparently another leader who has something to do with this war. They don't say who it is, but that they're going to have to be the ones that go and talk to this person, because it's too dangerous to send anybody else. Meanwhile, there's this character called Grace Choi, who is a member of the Outsiders. She's beating up a couple of Themyscirians, and then a mysterious woman approaches her and is like, impressive, Grace Choi, and your rebellious tone towards your fellow heroes has a certain ring of familiarity. You are the one we seek. So, what's going on with this? Oliver Queen finds a bomb at the site of the explosion, or a mysterious-looking weapon. And Batman is like, this couldn't be made by the Themyscirians. You know, sword, shield, and magic, Amazons. Microchips, computers, and high-tech weapons, someone else. Someone else? Who? Same people who destroyed Vandenberg Air Force Base and burned Kansas, and no doubt have other catastrophes planned. The game has changed, Oliver. A new opponent has taken the field. So apparently there is somebody else involved in this war that isn't Hippolyta or Cersei. Like, we got a new villain, apparently. A shadowy figure. And then the president's plane gets attacked by Supergirl and Wonder Girl. They stop the plane, It's like, what's going on? Oh my god. That's, what's her name? Wonder Girl. She shouldn't be anything to worry about. I mean, she's on our side, right? Right? Either you bring this plane down now, or we'll bring it down for you. So I guess Supergirl and Wonder Girl are helping Hippolyta and are like threatening people, which is pretty out of character for them, especially Supergirl. Like, Wonder Girl can be a little bit rebellious at times, but she still wouldn't do something like this. And Supergirl, just no. Like, why? Why are they helping her? So Teen Titans issue 48 explains why Cassandra Sandsmark and Kara Kent or Kara Danvers, whatever she's called in at this point in time, Supergirl, explains why they're helping Hippolyta and why they are, why they confront the president. It turns out that Cassandra's mother is being held at one of the camps that the president has created to detain people that are related to Themyscirians or are Themyscirians or Amazonians, etc. So they go there in order to free her mom, and that causes the Teen Titans to show up, which then causes conflict between the two of them because Tim wants them to calm down and come with him, and Cassandra isn't listening and wants to save her mom, and the guard warns them to back off and then ends up shooting them, which causes Supergirl to attack them, and same with Cassandra, and that causes a fight to break out between Cassandra, Supergirl, and the Teen Titans, and that's when Cassandra punches Tim through a nearby fence, which hurts her mum, and so she goes over to see if her mum is okay, and her mum tells her how strong and brave she is, and so Cassandra decides to leave in order to find another way to help free her mum, and refuses to go with Tim and the Teen Titans. She's just like, screw you, I am not teaming up with you. And that's what causes Supergirl and Cassandra to go and meet with Hippolyta, and Hippolyta wants to speak with the president, and so they volunteered to go and find the president for her and bring him to her. Nothing really important happens in Teen Titans issue 49 that's worth talking about, except that it completely undoes and resolves the Wonder Girl Supergirl plot, where, you know how they went off to go and talk to the president at the plane? Well, Superman found them and convinced them off panel not to do that. Maybe we'll get to see it in Amazon Attacks issue 4, but as far as I know, that has been completely resolved, and they are no longer working with the Themyscirians. Supergirl and Wonder Girl are no longer working with Hippolyta. Artemis shows up in this issue as well and tries to fight the Teen Titans, which is weird because this whole event she has been against Hippolyta's word, so it doesn't make sense that she would be so willing to go after Wonder Girl and Supergirl and bring them to Hippolyta. But she ends up, failing in doing that, and Supergirl and Wonder Girl decide to team up with the Titans, so they are now fighting against the Themyscirians, and that's all that really happens in there. So Artemis goes back to Hippolyta and has to explain to her that Wonder Girl and Supergirl are no longer helping them. Oh, and all the women that are inside the camp are also freed by the general that was, looking over the camp, because Wonder Girl and Supergirl proving to them that they are great people, this general is a good-hearted person, she decides to free Cassie's mom and all of the women that were detained there. So Wonder Woman tells her mum that she has to kill her if she wants the war to end, and Superman just comes in and is like, nope, and grabs Wonder Woman, takes her away, and she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm saving your life. Meanwhile, Wonder Girl and Supergirl try to tell the president to come with them, but a jet nearby shoots Wonder Girl with a missile, which causes her to fall out of the sky. But then she just crashes through the bottom of the plane to meet with the president, where she tells him that he needs to come with her because she wants him to talk to Hippolyta so that they can finally end this war. And he's like, okay, we'll do what you want. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman meets with Batman and reveals that the ones behind that are working with the Amazons that created the bomb that blew up the nuclear reactor in Star City are the Banner, who are a group of Amazonians that have better use of technology. They were the ones that tried to contact Grace to get them to join, to get her to join them. Oracle then calls Batman and says that Gotham City is going to be attacked by the Banner. So he heads off in order to stop them alongside Catwoman. The president's plane is attacked by a bunch of Themyscirans on Pegasus, where the pilot is killed, or at least one of the pilots is. Which Supergirl and Wonder Girl do not like this, because they're like, this isn't supposed to happen, the plane wasn't supposed to be attacked, no one was supposed to be killed. So they try to stop these Themyscirans, but unfortunately the plane is brought down by the Amazonians and crashes into a nearby countryside. Grace is approached by the leader of the Banner, Kana, and she just kicks Kana in the face, but then Kana is like, wow, that hurt. Anyway, you should join us, because if you join us, you won't be alone. And Grace is like, Like, she's definitely considering joining the Banner. It's not super relevant to the story, but I just thought it was funny. Red Arrow almost gets killed by a Amazonian lion, and Superman just comes in and defeats it easily. He's like, hey, you're a member of the Justice League. If you ever need help, you just have to call, and I'll come in and save you. It's just a funny moment. But then he senses that the president's plane has crashed, and he heads off to go and see what happened. The president is in critical condition, and Wonder Girl and Supergirl have to protect him against some of the Themyscirans, but then Superman comes in at the last moment and tries to convince them to stop attacking, saying that while the war is still going on in the main, like, at the White House, they're in the middle of the woods, and so they can prove that war is not needed by just coming to good terms. But then a bunch of army men show up and just start killing all of these Amazonians. So Superman's just like, what the hell are you doing? And the guard is like, we're just doing what we're told to do. Anyway, they need you in DC, so you should go. And so Superman, Wonder Girl, and Supergirl reluctantly head off to Washington, D.C., which is what we saw in Teen Titans when they showed up to help the Titans. Hippolyta learns what happened in the forest when one of the surviving Pegasus arrives riddled with bullets, and they realize that the odds might actually be against their favor. But then a mysterious shield starts appearing over Washington, D.C., and Hippolyta is like, oh, maybe the gods really are on our side. But it turns out, surprise, surprise, the shield was created by Circe, who isn't actually dead. Which, it was so obvious. Like, it was obvious from the beginning that she wasn't really dead. Because there was no body. She just teleported away. Like, it was so obvious. There are a couple of Catwoman tie-ins into the event, but nothing important really happens in them. The Banner attacks Gotham City, and Selina fights against them while protecting a baby that she apparently has. I have no idea what's going on in Catwoman comics at the moment, but she apparently has a baby. They're attacked by the Banner, and so is the city. There's this one scene where the Banner, like the leader of this Banner group, has a device that she's going to set off to destroy the city, but her head just gets blown apart by a sniper, so I thought I'd show that because that's just a pretty cool scene. And Catwoman takes the device, saving the city. But yeah, other than that, nothing really worth showing in this, in these couple of tie-ins. She wins. The end. So there is a Supergirl tie-in written by Tony Bedard with art by Renato Guedes, where we get to see some of Supergirl's point of view and how she's dealing with the war with the Amazons. There's an attack going on in the middle of Washington, D.C., where a giant Cyclops is attacking the city, and so all of the U.S. Army men come in, and they all start getting killed by Themyscirans, and there's one guy in particular who is fighting alongside them, who we get a bit of a reveal about this guy later. But for now, Supergirl arrives in order to help fight against the Amazons. And in the process, she gets shot by an arrow. So this guy comes over and helps pull the arrow out of her. His name's Greg. And he holds on to the arrow while she slowly heals from her abilities. And that's when the Cyclops attacks them, and so Supergirl decides to fight the Cyclops. She trades blows with the Cyclops, but it turns out that it's too powerful and that they're going to have to figure out another way to take it down. And that's when Greg reveals that he still has the arrow, and he's like, hey Supergirl, take this. And so she takes the arrow from him, and she uses her super breath to shoot the arrow into the Cyclops' eye, which causes it to start swinging its hammer like a madman. She actually tricks the Cyclops into hitting some of the Amazons with its hammer, which feels a little out of character for Supergirl to trick this Cyclops into killing people. But she deals it one final blow and knocks it out. And she goes and meets with Greg, and that's when Greg reveals that the reason he had the arrow, because she's like, oh, it's a good thing you still had that arrow. And he's like, oh, the reason I had it was because I was planning to use it on you. And she's like, why? And he's like, because you attacked the plane with the president in it, and my fiance was in there, or like my partner was in there, and so I was going to use the arrow to try and kill you. And so they talk it out, they hash things out, and come to an understanding that war is complicated, and you can't just fix your problems by brute forcing stuff like going and kidnapping the president in hopes that it would end the war. Like, you can't do stuff like that. It's not that simple. And so Supergirl learns a valuable lesson that day. So Wildcat, Mr. Terrific, and Black Canary are sent to try and deactivate the missile that has been locked onto Themyscira and is going to be set off soon. So Mr. Terrific starts hacking into the systems and eventually succeeds in overriding the missile, or at least he thinks so, because the missile just sets off anyway. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman heads to Themyscira, where she starts praying towards the gods, especially Athena, but none of them are answering her. At that moment, the nuclear missile launches. A couple of the heroes try to stop it from entering the portal to Themyscira, but they fail, and Wonder Woman sees the portal open up and the missile come out of it. So she's like, oh, they couldn't stop the launch. So she flies up to the missile and, using her lasso of truth, grabs it and throws it in a different direction. She's like, Athena, hear my prayer. Please guide the missile towards the safest possible. But then it just switches around and starts heading for Themyscira again. So she's like, no! She grabs onto the missile. She's trying to stop it from going using brute force, but she's not strong enough to keep this missile from shooting downward. So instead, she begins climbing the missile, where she rips off a panel from the missile and starts ripping out wires. But then she realizes that the wires continue to grow back because this missile is a magic missile, or it's alive, or something. They don't really explain. Just magic, I guess. So instead, she just decides to jump off of the missile and continues to redirect it over and over again, but it just keeps heading straight for Themyscira. So Wonder Woman's like, Athena, why am I being tested so? If you will not save your once-favored daughter, then what about your once-favored island, Themyscira? Why have you forsaken us? And she flies straight towards the missile, but before she can hit it, the missile explodes, and Athena herself appears before Wonder Woman. Great Athena, Divine Mother, I should be thanking you, yet you harbor anger and bitterness in your heart towards me. Towards you? Towards Zeus? Towards all of you? Forgive me, but have you all lost your way? Why else would you allow the Amazons to wage war in the world of man as they have? Why allow this senseless violence? Why all the destruction, the pointless deaths of your most loyal of servants, the deaths of innocents? You could end it all with a wave of your mighty hand, just as you only now saved Themyscira from that missile. Diana, today you invoked my name twice, asking for my help as the goddess of wisdom. But you seem to have forgotten, or perhaps chosen to ignore, that I am also the goddess of war. Divine Mother, please, and the goddess of strategy. No! And it is for me, and me alone, to say how, and when, and why I wave my mighty hand. And then Athena just grabs Diana and seemingly crushes her in her hand. Superman tries to enter Washington, D.C., but can't because Cersei's shield is in the way. But he doesn't know that Cersei has made it, and neither does Batman. He talks to Batman over communications, and together they try to figure out who created this shield. And also, Batman is trying to figure out, like, what is the plan behind this shield? He's like, where is the attack? Like, where's the ambush? What are they planning? Why did they put this shield here? Meanwhile, Grace learns the origins of the banner from Kana. They were exiled by Themyscira, and then they were also abandoned by the men that they had teamed up with in order to reproduce. And so now they want revenge against, those men and the Themyscirans as well, which is why they're taking part in this war. And then we get the big plot twist reveal where Kana says that Grace is actually one of them. Like, she is blood related to the Banner. Which, I'm curious if Judd Winnick, the creator of Grace, signed off on this, or didn't know they were going to make this choice and was pissed that they did. Because, he's writing The Outsiders, he created Grace for that series, and so, yeah, the backstory of the character he has created is being told in a book that he isn't writing. And so Grace starts to tear up because the idea of family gets to her. Even though in The Outsiders, which is the series that she mostly stars in, she's never really shown any tendency towards longing for a family. This is kind of just in this series. Wonder Woman appears out of nowhere. I guess that's what Athena did to her when she crushed her in her hand. She was teleporting her into the middle of Washington, D.C., behind the shield, where she meets with Batman and reveals that she's brought the antidote that will help cure Nemesis and his killer bee stings. Wonder Woman and Batman talk about the mysterious shield and how it's probably made out of magic, and for some reason, Batman is the one who comes to the conclusion that it's Cersei and not Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's like, there's no way it's Cersei. She's dead. But, Diana, you've already seen Cersei die, multiple times, and she's always come back. Why are you surprised about the idea of her coming back now and not being dead? Batman's starting to feel like the protagonist of this event, even though it's a Wonder Woman event. If you'll see what I mean. There's later stuff that happens that secures even more that Batman is the protagonist of the Wonder Woman event, which is a problem. Superman interrupts Grace and Kana's conversation to force Kana to admit to Grace that she is lying to her about the Banner and about her blood relation to them, and Kana instead holds Grace at knife point in order to force Superman to allow them to enter through the shield that he can't get through. Because she's like, oh, are you fast enough to stop me from slitting her throat? And I was just thinking, yeah, he should be. Superman is very fast. He should be able to stop her from slitting Grace's throat. But he doesn't. He just lets them go through the shield and then starts punching it afterward while she mocks him. And then after that, she just stabs Grace in the side and leaves her to bleed out while she heads off and goes to meet Hippolyta, where Hippolyta is like, oh, thank you. Now the women of Themyscira are all finally united again. Meanwhile, Cersei watches from the distance, happy about her evil plan proceeding, which her plan is just for everyone to die. She just doesn't care about anyone. She wins if everybody dies. But then her guard gets knocked out by Batman, who somehow got up there without Cersei noticing, even though she is literally a sorceress. There is no way that somebody like Batman would be able to sneak up behind her when she has magic. And even she says it. She's like, how the hell did you get behind me without me knowing? And then this is probably the dumbest part. Cersei tries using her magic against Batman, but it doesn't work because he had the time to go and see Zatanna, and she gave him she gave magic energy to a certain group of words. The stuff that he says in this panel are apparently powered by Zatanna's magic. So when he uttered them, it turned off Cersei's magic, and so he just attacks her and beats her. Just like that. That's what I'm talking about with Batman just being the real hero of this book, even though it's a Wonder Woman event. And Batman is the one who beats Cersei. It's pretty stupid. When people complain about Batman being too overpowered and being Bat God, this is where that whole idea started, I think. And so because he's beaten Cersei, they manage to shut down the shield, and so Hippolyta is just like, wait, what the hell's going on? And Superman and the rest of the heroes just break through the shield. They're like, who do you think? Cersei wakes up after being knocked down by Batman and is like, oh, it doesn't matter if he knocked me out because I'm gonna win anyway, because I have everyone where I want them. The heroes and the Themyscirans are gonna end up killing each other, and everyone dies and I win. Wonder Woman then finds Grace on the floor, and Grace just pulls the knife out of her side and is okay, I guess. And then her and Wonder Woman prepare to head into battle as they see the war going on in front of them. As Hippolyta slaughters multiple soldiers, she calls out, "Where is she? Where is my daughter?" And meanwhile, her daughter, Diana, goes and meets with Cersei. It's like, you were alive this whole time. And Cersei's like, yeah, I sure am. I don't have my magic at the moment because of your friend Batman, but you still won't kill me even though you can. And Diana just throws her to the floor and is like, I won't. I suggest you ask my friend in the Bat costume about that. Without your powers, you'll just fall more easily. And then somebody from behind her says, no, she won't. And it's Hippolyta. She shows up and is like, hello, daughter. I've been looking for you. And then she just smacks Diana, sending her flying, and the two fight each other. They clash swords, and Wonder Woman punches Hippolyta, sending her flying through a gate. And then Hippolyta just finds a plane and throws it through the gate at Diana, crushing her. But then she walks over to the plane and is like, still alive? I raised you well. Too well. And she rips open the side of the plane, revealing that Diana's still alive. And she puts the sword to Diana's throat. And Diana's like, go ahead, mother. Do it. Give in to your bloodlust. Show me that Cersei's magic is stronger than your will. Your sense of right and wrong. The ideals of our people who none but you have better lived up to. Show me that despite our differences, despite all the ways you think I've let you down, that you don't still consider me your daughter. Cersei's magic isn't working at the moment, mother. Whatever decision you make is yours and yours alone. If this war really is your will and desire, then go ahead. Finish the job. Kill me. And Hippolyta's just like... Superman goes to stop things, but Batman's like, wait. And Hippolyta and Diana just look at each other for a sec, and then Hippolyta drops her blade. And that's when Cersei shows up and is like, you idiots! Do you really believe this changes anything? This was never about you, full daughter of Hippolyta. Every body lying on the broken ground, every drop of blood staining this pristine marble, all spilled in the name of vengeance. Against the gods! And then she explains to all of them that the reason she's doing this is because she had a child with Ares, and then Ares stole her kid because the gods wanted her daughter, and so she's trying to get revenge against the gods for stealing her daughter from them. Batman tries to sneak up on her, but Cersei's magic is back, so she just knocks Batman out with some magic, which actually makes sense. Cersei's then like, you thought the war would end if either of you killed each other or came to an understanding? No, the war ends when I say it ends. But not before I reclaim that life that was so graciously given to you, Queen Mother. I wonder how will you greet me when I next conquer Hades? Farewell, your majesty. And then a big, massive boom happens. And Cersei, Hippolyta, and Diana see Athena, who has appeared before all of them. This has gone far enough. Goddess Athena, please forgive us. Oh yes, please, mighty Athena. Please do forgive us. Then again, that's the only thing you can do now, isn't it? Look around you, bringer of wisdom. A city in ruins, dead bodies as far as the eye can see. 2 peoples ravaged. And who is responsible for this? A goddess? A just and mighty deity? No, I did this. While you did nothing. You are every bit as responsible as I. What? No, goddess, please! And so she just gets picked up by Athena and sent to Hades. Like, I have condemned you to Hades, Cersei. That must count for something. And then Diana just turns to Athena and is like, you've been watching this whole time. You could have stopped this. And Athena's like, yeah, we could have, but we didn't want to because this was a test the entire time. We were waiting to see how you would react to this, and you reacted in the worst way possible. You started a war, you started killing each other, you started betraying each other, but then you didn't even go through with it. She's talking about Athena. Not Athena. Artemis, about how Artemis didn't stand for what Hippolyta stood for, but still didn't do anything. It's almost like Athena is pointing out the bad writing of this storyline, where Artemis was against Hippolyta, but never did anything to stop Hippolyta from attacking Washington, D.C. She just went along with her anyway. And so Athena replies and is like, you must be punished because of this. And so Themyscira comes back, and Diana is like, oh, so Themyscira just not being in your realm is our punishment? And Athena is like, nope, not exactly. And then all of the Amazonians, except for Diana, disappear. Because Athena's punishment is that the Amazonians just don't exist anymore. And that Diana is the only one. That is the punishment, which is messed up. Like, Hippolyta has just been wiped out of existence. Everyone has. Even Artemis. Like, she's gone. Every conflict has its casualties. The conflict has claimed the Amazons. They are no longer your concern. Let this be a lesson to you, world of man. A lesson in the folly of war. The Amazons were stronger than you, wiser than you, better than you. Yet still they possessed fear and hatred, the very seeds of darkness. Seeds a mere sorcerers could manipulate into war. And if the Amazons could be brought down by such base flaws, then truly the world of mortals must also have much to answer for. Look at yourselves, look within yourselves. A moment ago it was said that my hands were not clean, neither were yours. Some of you acted rashly, endangering the lives of innocents, and threatening to take the conflict to a new level. Some of you attacked the rights of others, seeing liberty as just another battlefield casualty. And some became so caught up in battle strategy that you worried only how to fight instead of how not to. The war is over. Make the most of the peace, before the inevitable next conflict begins. And then Athena disappears. And Diana is just like, she's right, the war's over. We have a lot of cleaning up to do. Like, her mother and all of her friends and family have just disappeared, and she just doesn't seem to care that much. You would think that Diana would break down. Like, that's how this should have ended. Instead of saying this, Diana should have just, like, fallen on her knees and just been like, why? It's then revealed that Athena has now gone to her own realm and has sent Hippolyta to a realm where there is no one for her to rule over. And then it's revealed that Athena is holding a lot of the gods hostage, and it's because this isn't actually Athena. This was Granny Goodness in disguise the entire time. And that's where it ends. It ends on a cliffhanger. Like, this event doesn't even have a proper ending. It just ends with it being like, oh, Granny Goodness was Athena the whole time. Isn't that messed up? I guess Darkseid was somewhat behind this as well, because she works for him. What a stupid ending. And that's Amazon's attack. You know, I went into this knowing that it was bad. I wanted to see why it was bad, and now I see why it is. It's a Wonder Woman event where Batman is pretty much the one who fixes everything. Meanwhile, Superman pretty much fixes nothing. Like, there's that one conflict that he stops in a tie-in, but other than that, he never gets to do anything worthwhile. He never gets to solve anything, and neither does Diana. Like, all of the problems that Diana has in this book is usually sorted by somebody else. You know, Circe was sorted by Batman, Hippolyta was dealt with by Athena. Like, she doesn't really get to do anything worthwhile in her own event. She doesn't get to be the hero. Not really. She isn't the one that solves the conflict. Other people solved it for her, which is really disappointing. And also, her just not breaking down after what happened to the Amazons when they were straight up erased out of reality, at least as much as she knew. You would think at the very end that she would break down because of that, but no, instead she's just like, oh, the war is over, let's do some cleaning up. Like, why? But the worst thing that this event did was just ruin the image of the Amazons. How are they ever supposed to come back from this? How are you ever supposed to write Hippolyta again in a kindly light when she's murdered so many people? Like, I'm pretty sure what happens is that whoever writes Wonder Woman after this event spends time just erasing everything that happened in this event and being like, oh, you know, Hippolyta just never killed those people, or this is a new version of Hippolyta, that one was a fake, it was never real, like that kind of stuff. Because how do you bring this same Hippolyta back and redeem her after everything that she's done? I don't think you can. You might as well just kill her off and have her stay dead. She should have stayed dead to begin with. I don't even know why they brought the character back to life just to ruin her. Stupid. So yeah, don't read Amazon's Attack unless, especially if you're a Wonder Woman fan, don't read it unless you just want to torture yourself. Or you just like reading bad stuff, then you can read it. But I hope you enjoyed this episode anyway. I still enjoyed making it. I enjoy reading bad things, like bad comic books, to a degree. At least I'm able to make fun of them. And next week, I'm going to be starting another bad comic book, Countdown, the DC event. And I'm not just going to be doing the main series, which is 52 issues. I'm also going to do a lot of the tie-ins as well. There was a bunch of mini-series that tied into the event. I'm going to be covering those too. And because it's so long, I'm probably going to split it up into multiple videos, just because I want to edit them all and make them all look real nice. So that's going to take more time. I'll probably do like 12 issues per video or something like that, around an hour to 2 hour long video should be good. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week for Countdown.